So it turns out that red is apparently my colour. Never thought I'd suit red hair. Always thought, nope, never dyeing my hair red. Not doing that, it's not going to suit me. It will look really shit. And then spare of the moment, last night I dyed my hair red. Hello everyone, my name is BlackWitchDirah. I am a Luciferian witch of the left-hand path as well as an occult educator. I nearly forgot my own intro. And yeah, here with a video for you today. Demons in the older grimoires such as the Lesser Key of Solomon versus reality in terms of appearances and natures. Someone asked me to do a video on specifically the appearances of demons, kind of like grimoires versus reality, but I thought I'd go a little bit deeper into the natures of these demons as well. Sorry if I'm positioned a bit weird. I feel like I am. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but I have a back injury at the moment. Quite a severe one actually, because I found out there were some things wrong with me that I didn't know were wrong with me. So there's me thinking I injured myself at the gym. Turns out I'm just prone to back injury the way that I'm built. So that was an unpleasant surprise. So I'm currently sitting on a hot water bottle because it's on my sciatic nerve, so essentially sort of like in my glute. Fuck me, it's agony. And do you know what? I've been feeling a little bit sorry for myself about it the past few days, because what you guys probably don't know is that outside of my occult life, I am training to compete in bodybuilding later in the year, and means I can't train. I'm 4 months away from this competition and I can't fucking train. So it's been emotional, but the thing is that in this practice that there's no room for victimhood, there's no room for self-pity, because you just kind of like, as soon as you start feeling that, it's like, oh, you're a magician, sort it out. So yeah, no time to fall into an abyss of self-pity. I'm just adjusting my hot water bottle because it's burning my skin. So yeah, very quickly before we get into the video, I'm an occult educator, therefore I educate people on occult topics through my various learning programs. So what are my learning programs? My latest is To Hex or Not to Hex, which is all about baneful magic and how to build a very effective and also safe practice around that. I have a course on demonolatry, which, you fucking kidding me? My fucking camera's about to die. Right, she's been charging for half an hour now, so hopefully we can continue. So, learning programs, I spoke about To Hex or Not to Hex. I also have my demonolatry course, which won't be around for much longer now because I am doing a new thing with regards to demonolatry. The new thing with regards to demonolatry will be with witch skills. So if you are interested in witch skills, which is going to be basically an online occult school, you can sign up for the mailing list, which is in the description. Anyway, into today's video. Demons, Lesser Key of Solomon versus reality. Now I say reality very loosely because anyone that works with the goetic demons are like, we're all gonna have different accounts of what these beings look like. There might be some common themes, but ultimately we are all going to interpret them in our own way and probably see slightly different things or very different things. For me personally, I've noticed that certain demons that I've worked with match their goetic description more than others. So for example, working with Astaroth, I've never found Astaroth to look anything like her goetic description at all, and this is probably because she's described as male in the Lesser Key of Solomon, but you know, I, as well as many others, interpret her energy as female. So the way Astaroth appears to me is these very sort of like big sort of like doe eyes, and snakes, like snake imagery, serpent imagery tends to come up a lot with Astaroth for me personally, because sorry, I've got hair stuck on my face and it's really irritating. She's holding a viper in her goetic imagery, so that's about as far as it goes when it comes to Astaroth for me personally. And then I'm trying to think of another demon who's matched their goetic description quite well. So another one is Larage, right? So I've interpreted the first few times I evoked Larage, she appeared as female and with very big like red wings, and you know, very beautiful and almost quite young looking. And then there were other times later on with my work with Larage where she appeared more androgynous and was more of a cloaked figure, and that more so aligns with her goetic description. There are also going to be some infernal beings that their appearance might vary a little bit more, but especially like if you're working with Lucifer, right? Because Lucifer and Lilith as well, actually, you know, they have deific masks, so they have specific archetypes in which they can manifest, so their appearances are going to vary depending on that deific mask as well. Boone's always been an interesting one, so I have had sort of like dog imagery when it comes to Boone, so like some symbolism there. But I've also had Boone manifest as like a female energy who looks kind of Egyptian and just very like Venusian. Obviously Boone is of Venus, so that makes sense. But like it's not ever really fixed in how demons appear to us. Often they can appear in ways which we are most likely to understand. You know, a lot of times in the Lesser Key of Solomon, it says, you know, you can ask for them to appear in human form, and that's basically so we can, I think, digest it a little bit better. But I think when my work kind of deepened with certain goetic entities, I was a little bit uneasy when they started to appear differently to me, because I was almost like, is that you? Because, you know, it wasn't what I was used to. So if you are working with goetic demons, bear that in mind, that their appearance can change as your work with them progresses as well. And it's not to say that just because we experience these demons differently to what the Lesser Key of Solomon says, it doesn't mean that these grimoires are necessarily inaccurate. You know, they are accounts of the time, and as these things have been rewritten, you know, there hasn't been any kind of update with them. There hasn't been, you know, they kind of just stuck to what was written in the like 16th or 17th century, and it hasn't progressed beyond that. So it doesn't mean they're wrong, it just means they're potentially outdated or just one stance on it. But more so I wanted to go into the natures of the goetic demons, because I think that also differs from the grimoires a little bit. For example, Astaroth is said to have really terrible smelling breath, and I've never smelt a terrible smell when working with Astaroth. Now, this might be different if she was to appear in, you know, this goetic form, then one might smell her bad breath. But going a little bit deeper into natures of demons, like I was discussing with a client the nature of Zeppa recently, because she wanted some love work done, and she said, are you be working with Zeppa? And I said, yeah, potentially, because I work with Zeppa a lot, especially when it comes to obsession and lust kind of work, right? And she said, oh, I've heard he can make women barren. She was like, I don't mind, like I don't want kids. And I was just sort of like, well, it says that in the grimoires, but how does that apply today? You've got to think about when these grimoires were written. So these grimoires were written by men, and they were probably written from the stance of motives of men at the time. Now, if a man wanted to sleep with lots and lots of women, he's likely not going to want those women to get pregnant. He's likely not going to, you know, especially if he's married and has children of his own, like he probably doesn't want, you know, these illegitimate children. So what's most convenient for him? Okay, so I can have my fling, I can have my casual sex, and I don't have to face the consequences of being a father because these women are going to become barren. So you've got to think back to the times of when that might have been relevant. I wouldn't be concerned. So say for example you want to do a spell with Zephyr, I'm not going to be worried about your fertility. If you had a lifelong pact with Zephyr, or you've been doing work with him for years and years and years and years and years, I might be like, okay, it's probably might be a bit of a higher risk of your fertility being affected. But, you know, just as like the one-off, I don't think Zephyr is out there literally to make women barren. Like that's, I mean, it's not something that's been revealed to me personally, but I also just think if you just apply a little bit of like critical thinking to these grimoires, it makes sense as to why. Because, you know, there's other language in those grimoires which, you know, isn't necessarily relevant today for things like discovering where treasure is buried or turning metals into gold. Like, you know, those things may have had more relevance back then. It might have been, you know, genuine motives of, you know, for someone to do. But nowadays we probably don't go looking for buried treasure, and our main motive in life isn't to turn metals into gold. Like we've got, you know, if we want to turn metals into gold to make money, the likelihood is that nowadays in this society we have much faster ways of doing that. Of obtaining gold through other means rather than like literal like physical alchemy. So yeah, you've got to just think about the times in which these things were relevant and how that translates to today. Now, for example, if you are a man and you wanted to have sexual encounters with women and you didn't want to get them pregnant, obviously today we have contraception, so ideally you should be putting something on the end of it. However, if for whatever reason I don't know why I'm giving you some sort of magical solution to this, but just bear with me, and you didn't want these women to get pregnant, then perhaps you could ask Zephyr to prevent that from happening. Not necessarily to make the women barren, but just to stop that from happening. And this isn't me suggesting that like that's an okay thing to do either. Like, do what you want sexually, but yeah, I mean, I'd probably be quite against the idea of using Zephyr in that way to prevent women from getting pregnant, just in case it does have like a long-term effect. But I'm just trying to basically translate it to how it would be relevant today. I suppose what I'm trying to say is that you need to bear in mind when these things were written, and therefore be careful not to kind of take them out of context. Like, don't take it too literally. Like, what is literally written in that grimoire is a lot of it's open to interpretation. So for example, what I was talking about with the alchemy stuff, like turning metals into gold, you can take that as a kind of alchemy, not a physical alchemy, but an alchemy on another plane. So say you want to see change in a situation, like how do I turn this situation from shit into gold, basically, and look at it that way. These grimoires provide us with a foundation for working with demonic entities. However, because times have changed, it's not, some of it isn't relevant anymore. So we have these as a foundation, but beyond that, it's our own experience and also applying some critical thinking. So I'm going to leave that video there for today, guys. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and like the video. I upload videos every Saturday, and I will see you in the next one.